Let me tell you something, right out of the gate, pun fully intended, there's not a single billion-dollar lawsuit, not one boardroom showdown or high-stakes fraud that preps you for driving 8 hours out of Chicago only to hit a steel barricade on your own land and get told by two HOA rent-a-cops, "Sorry, you're banned from entering." Yeah, that happened. That was the moment I realized I wasn't dealing with your run-of-the-mill corporate scumbags. This was personal. Family, and it was about to get ugly. I wasn't even supposed to be awake that early. My body considers anything before 7 a.m. an act of violence. But that morning I shot up in bed before sunrise like someone had hit me with a cattle prod. You ever have that feeling where you just know something's about to go wrong? Not a nightmare worse. Real. The apartment was dead quiet. Too perfect. 30 floors above the city me in my overpriced pajamas, pretending I wasn't just a farm boy playing dress-up in a lawyer costume. I'd been dreaming about my father, and trust me, he never shows up quietly, not in real life, not in my head. So I'm sitting there in the dark, rubbing my face, and my phone lights up. Unknown number 3, missed calls. It buzzes again. I answer, and this woman's voice, trembling but trying hard not to show it, asks, "Is this Mr. Carter?" Samuel? Carter, son of Robert Carter? My whole body stiffens. Yes. Who is this? She tells me she's from St. Luke's Hospital. My father had a heart attack, critical condition, unresponsive. There's this long, awful pause. For a second, I have no clue what to feel. Last time Dad and I talked 3 years back, he told me I wasn't his son anymore. Told me I'd abandoned the land, the name, the bloodline. Hung up and never called again. But hearing a stranger say he might die, it felt like someone took a sledgehammer to my chest. "Any other next of kin?" she asks. "No, just me." I spit out the words steadier than I felt. "Text me the address. I'm coming." The next thing I know, I'm dressed in moving jeans, old boots that go bag every city lawyer keeps just in case, in less time than it takes to remember how much I hate highway gas station coffee I'm on. I-90 Tesla humming west, the city shrinking behind me. No music, no podcasts, just the kind of silence that makes your skin itch. My mind kept looping back to my dad. Robert Carter. A man who measured life in acres, not hours. He fought every developer, every zoning board, every state inspector who ever looked at his land sideways. 5,000 acres, one dog, one shotgun, and a vendetta against anyone with a clipboard. Me, I'd spent my whole life putting as much distance between us as possible, legal, emotional, all of it. Somewhere outside Rockford, I shot a text to my friend Leo, who just happens to be FBI. Heard Greenhaven HOA is buying land all over. Something feels off. You got anything on them? Leo's reply comes a few hours later. Big expansion. Too private. I'll dig more. I didn't even realize my hands were gripping the wheel so tight my knuckles hurt. And you know what I thought? The worst thing waiting for me was a dying father and a lot of things left unsaid. Wrong. I was driving straight into a war and I didn't even know it yet. The world changed the farther I got from Chicago glass, and steel gave way to Barnes flat sky, and the kind of Midwest nothingness that doesn't care who you are but demands respect. I kept seeing ghosts of my past 12-year-old me on a fence rail watching my dad fix a broken water line. Land doesn't leave you, son. Only people do. He meant it as a warning, but I took it as permission to run. And I did. All the way to law school, corporate ladder, big city. When Mom passed, Dad didn't even call until weeks after the funeral. Said it wasn't worth interrupting my meetings. That's the kind of stubborn you can't fix. As the miles ticked by, I replayed every old argument in my head. What could possibly push a man like my dad so far he collapses outside a liquor store, especially a guy who hadn't touched a drink in decades? Round hour 4, Leo texts again. Permits pulled last year. Greenhaven is up to something. A knot formed in my stomach. This wasn't about paint colors and fence heights. This was organized. I hit the old county line just as the sun started setting, that sky so big and blue you forget to breathe. Everything looked smaller, sadder, like someone had washed the color out of the world. The hospital sat on the edge of town, tired and chipped from too many summers and too little funding. The nurse at the front desk sent me down to ICU. Nothing prepares you for seeing your father like that, small, wired-up, pale, almost unrecognizable. For a second, I just stood there, barely able to walk in. "Hey," I whispered, even though I knew he couldn't hear me. "It's me." A doctor came in, told me the heart attack was bad. Said Dad was found outside a liquor store, disoriented, nothing on him but an old insurance card. My dad hadn't touched a drop in 30 years. None of it made sense. I promised to bring in paperwork to help them figure it out. But as I left, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was rotten, way beyond just a bad ticker. The road home was muscle memory, every bend, every pothole. Except when I got there, the old wooden gate was gone. In its place, a brand new 12-foot steel barricade, slick with oil, blinding in the last light, Greenhaven Residential Management logo slapped on it like a joke. 2 guard sunglasses at dusk, standing in front of a white Explorer. The taller one looked like he'd been waiting for this moment his whole life. "Can I help you, sir?" His tone made it clear he couldn't care less. I told them I'm going to the Carter farm, my father's property. They smirked, exchanged glances, said I wasn't on the approved list. "This is HOA jurisdiction now." That's when the lawyer in me snapped awake. "Show me the deed transfer, any legal documentation." They balked, got defensive, called me counselor. Yeah, they'd been briefed. I hit record on the Tesla's dash cam, calmly stated, "I was the owner's son here to retrieve medical documents." They just laughed. "Take it up with Greenhaven. Offices are closed." Of course. I could have rammed that gate, but that's what they wanted. I reversed ice cold, told them I'd be back with evidence. As I pulled away, I started building my case in my head, replaying every second. If they thought this was over, they didn't know who they were dealing with. I hit the courthouse before dawn. Linda Barnes, the clerk since forever, pulled the Carter property files for me. No deed transfer since the 80s, but then a new document, a notice of property incorporation into Greenhaven filed 5 days ago, signed by a guy who'd been dead since 2019. The signature was a clumsy forgery, stamped in after hours. Someone on the inside, real textbook fraud. I had what I needed. Printed every page, loaded my evidence, started recording voice memos. Drove back to the gate. Guards tried their tough guy act again, but I laid it all out. Proof of forgery, video evidence, necessity, defense, the works. When they tried to stop me, I let the Tesla roll forward slow and steady, pushing the gate right off its hinges. Not anger strategy. Documented, justified, legal. I made it through. The house had been ransacked. Not a burglary. A targeted search. Boot prints everywhere, safe gone, even Mom's wedding ring missing. That's when Jack showed up, old friend, still loyal. He'd seen Greenhaven's guys breaking in, loading a box truck, threatening him for trying to intervene. Even the dog, Bruno, had been chased off. Before I could even catch my breath, the sheriff's cruiser rolled in, lights flashing. Arrested me for trespassing, forced entry, assault with a deadly weapon, your vehicle. Karen Blake, the HOA president, had clearly pulled every string in this corrupt little county. I didn't argue, didn't panic. Lawyers build cases. I took my one phone call, called Leo. "It's Sam. I need your help." Just before midnight, the cell door opens and in walks Karen Blake, herself dressed like she's headed to a board meeting, smiling like she's already won. She slides papers across the table. "Sign this, admit fault, and I'll make the charges go away." I didn't even look. "Forgery," I said. She laughed, but her hands shook just a bit. Then the real twist, federal agents Storm and Leo leading the charge. "We've been monitoring Greenhaven for over a year," he announces. "Your presence here tonight, Ms. Blake, is evidence. Thank you for your cooperation." Karen goes pale. She tries to threaten to bluff, but the game's up. We roll out to Greenhaven's headquarters, FBI raiding every inch. In Karen's office under a lamp, I find Mom's ring. She kept it for herself, not for evidence. That's not just theft, that's cruelty. I pocket the ring, and Leo tells me they found emails Greenhaven was just a front for a massive land grab, and my father wasn't the only target. And get this, he wasn't supposed to survive. Court comes quick. Karen gets 17 years for fraud, theft, and conspiracy. When the verdict comes down, it's not joy, just relief. Justice stops the bleeding, but the healing takes longer. That old Steel Gate Sheriff's Office cut it down the next morning. Dad came home, and even Bruno limped back in, battered but alive. That night, sitting at the kitchen table, Dad finally looked at me and said, "You came back. That's what saved this place. Not the FBI, not the court. You." We planted sunflowers where the gate had scarred the dirt, Mom's favorite. A living wall no corrupt HOA could ever breach. People think stories like this end in courtrooms, but they don't. For me, it ended barefoot in the dirt next to my old man, looking out over the fields we'd almost lost. Home isn't a place, it's a fight. And sometimes justice needs someone stubborn enough to finish it. So let me ask you, what would you do for justice? Where's the line between right and wrong when it comes to family to legacy? Drop your thoughts below, because trust me, this debate's not over yet.